Today on Locked On Rockies, a wacky, fun finale in the finish, led by the young guys. Plus, it's time to give props to Austin Gomber.
You are Locked On Rockies, your daily Colorado Rockies podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Rock on Rockies fans, welcome into the Locked On Rockies podcast for today, the 17th day of July. Jumping already to August. Don't want to do that. The summer's already going too fast. 17th day of July here on the Locked On Rockies podcast, bringing you your daily Colorado Rockies talk. I'm Paul Holden, your Rockies fan extraordinaire. Been following this team my entire life and been bringing you your daily Colorado Rockies talk right here on the Locked On Podcast Network for 3 seasons now. Today on the Locked On Rockies podcast, we are talking about, well, what else other than a pretty fun weekend there for the Colorado Rockies against a big name team. It's always fun to beat a team like the Yankees at Coors Field, especially when, again, Rockies fans might have found themselves outnumbered there, even though it was a home game. Before we dive into all that, today's episode is brought to you by eBay Motors. This episode is Locked On Rockies is brought to you by eBay Motors. A championship team is about each player being a perfect fit. Same with your vehicle. So for parts that fit, head to eBay Motors and look for the green check. Stay in the game with eBay Guaranteed Fit. ebaymotors.com. Let's ride. eBay Guaranteed Fit, only available to U.S. customers, eligible items only, exclusions do apply. Want to thank you for making Locked On Rockies your first listen of the day. Want to thank you for subscribing and being a part of the Locked On Rockies community there on YouTube. It's been awesome. The numbers are all up. You all are tuning in. You all are talking Rockies. You all are hanging out here and having a good time with us here on the Locked On Podcast Network. You can find your team every day. All right. Now that the soapbox part of the show, well, at least the intro soapbox part of the show is over, what a weekend, right? And I think there's a lot of things to look at, but I think what's important to recognize, what I think is really important to focus on for this series is there's honestly a lot, but I was really impressed with how the Rockies came out and were led by young guys, and we're led by Austin Gomber. I think we have now got to give Austin Gomber more credit. And it's streaky, and it hasn't always been this case. And there's more there. But when we're talking recent, when we're talking the latest stretch of Rockies baseball, when we're talking at least here and now, when we're talking the last 3 starts at minimum for Gomber, he's really helped the Rockies. He has put the Rockies in good positions. He's just getting burned on small mistakes, but he is giving solid starting pitching at the point of the season that the Rockies desperately need him to do so. He is the only Rocky starter that you're really sitting there saying that you have an abundance of confidence in right now, especially given the health issues with everything. And as we saw on Saturday, the opposite is true for Connor Siebold. The writing has to. The Rockies are in such a difficult spot. You don't necessarily know what they might do with Connor Siebold, especially when you look at how the Rockies bullpen handled the Yankees after Siebold left the game after 2 1/3. The Rockies only give up 2 more hits in the game. Unfortunately, too much damage done there and too little offense from the Rockies. And then backed up there on the fact that the Rockies turned to Chase Anderson, who was stellar through 5 yesterday. Again, yesterday's game was also key because when you get a good performance from someone like Chase Anderson, and the series starts with a good Gomber start. When you, as the 2023 Rockies, are getting 2 good starting pitching appearances in your series, that's a massive W for you, and that should be putting you in situations to win. And granted, the Rockies tried very hard not to win yesterday. The Rockies were able to eke that out and get the win, especially responding and bouncing back to a dominant Garrett Cole start. The small signs of encouragement to take from this series are great. You should be definitely excited. You should feel good about this for sure. And you should feel good at how this series turned out. I think Yankees fans are a lot more upset today than we are excited. I think when you're the Yankees, you are certainly more disappointed and really frustrated with how this series went, especially that finale, and especially when this team was looking to jumpstart their offense against really three pitchers with above 6 ERAs at Coors Field. A massive opportunity missed for the Yankees, especially when the Rockies, especially in yesterday's game, and the Rockies doing the damage not only by the long ball but against a good bullpen. I mean, there again reminds us the flashes of good stuff that are there for the Rockies. It's not consistent enough. It's certainly not enough. But there's a lot of really things to raise your eyebrows about at the end of that series, especially when you are going to, when there's something like this, there's stats like this to go for here. As I'm trying to figure out how to actually look at my my own Twitter profile, because I'm hoping I retweeted this here from from Purple Row, but I'm gonna find it either way. And I hope you guys saw the Yankees broadcaster jinxing the game yesterday, saying Alan Trejo doesn't have a home run, but he gets a home run there, his first of the year. And here's the stat from the Rockies Club Information and per Elias Sports. The Rockies win over the Yankees was just the third time in the live ball era a team has hit a go-ahead grand slam in the eighth inning or later, a game-tying home run in extra, and a walk-off home run in extra. And I want to go again on these the young guys who hit those home runs in that amazing bottom half of the inning. They tweet a picture, and they have this tweet to say from Purple Row. The Rockies hit 4 home runs today. 3 of them were hit by players in this picture. In this picture, you can see Brenton Doyle, you can see Nolan Jones, you can see Michael Toglia, you can see a whole handful of Rockies here in this picture. The Purple Row follows it up with 2 of them are rookies, and the third just came back from Albuquerque when referencing Alan Trejo. Let the kids play. Bingo. Let the kids play. Let the kids go up against Garrett Cole and go through tough at-bats like that. I mean, it was the only hit of the day for Michael Toglia, but it was an important one. 2 hits for Nolan Jones in the finale there. Brenton Doyle might not have the offense, unfortunately, not still clicking there, but his defense continues to be a factor. And, of course, Alan Trejo coming up big. Ezequiel Tovar with a hit in that one. In Saturday's game there for the Rockies there, Nolan, a really tough day at the dish there, but Ezequiel Tovar, a couple of hits out. Harold Castro, it was kind of a frustrating day for everybody. So not a lot of flashy offense there from the young guys, but going back to game number 1 here, where only a couple of the young guys found their way into the lineup here. Both Nolan Jones, Ezequiel Tovar getting hits in that series. Brenton Doyle also had a hit there and a couple of RBI. So clearly making a difference. There are clearly things to sit there and want. You want to see more from all of these guys. That's the exciting thing. But on top of that, the other layer, if CJ Cron keeps hitting go-ahead grand slams late, his trade value is going to go up. Same with Randall Grichuk and his impact on this series. The Rockies, if they can replicate this, which is replicating success and doing it for an extended period of time, if they can get to pull together a solid couple of weeks of baseball before the trade deadline, the Rockies might be able to get a little bit more. It's not going to be a lot, but they might be able to get a little bit more from the trade deadline if play like that continues from CJ Cron. Let's keep talking about this series, and I want to give my props to Austin Gombers. Austin's Gombers. I totally messed that one up. Austin Gomber as well. Let's do that coming up here in segment number 2 for the Colorado Rockies podcast that you know and love, the Locked On Rockies podcast. Boy, you can tell it's a Monday, can't you? But before we do that, it is time for me to tell you about Sleeper. And Sleeper, if you're looking to win more money with less picks, head to Sleeper, where you can win up to 100 times your money on just 2 or more fantasy baseball picks. It's a brand new way to play fantasy baseball. You're assembling a team, basically. And if you're looking at the statistical categories here, we can pull these up here, and you can see here, this is the slip. This is how it looks like if you're on the YouTube. But basically, you can say, I'm taking Shohei to hit over half a home run. So hit a home run today. I'm looking at Jose Ramirez Ramirez, he's gonna hit a home run today, and of course, betting on Mr. 400 there in Reyes is gonna get a base knock. So you can bet over under on a whole bunch of different statistics. Put them all up on your team. And see about how your luck goes. It's a new way to play daily fantasy, and you have the opportunity to make 100 times more your money on just 2 or more picks. That's right. All you got to do, you could bet on some simple stuff, easy ones that you can think of. All you got to do is just have 2 of them hit. And when you use the promo code Locked On, you'll get up to $100 match on your first deposit. They got safe and fast withdrawals available at Sleeper, and they do have terms and conditions that apply. So you can see all of those terms of use for details, and it's operational in 30 states. Check out Sleeper today. Make sure that you are heading there and using the promo code Locked On. That's how you're going to get that 100 times per bonus on your money with just 2 or more daily fantasy picks. So check out Sleeper. I love my little overlay. Sleeper, there it is. Sleeper.com. Use that promo code Locked On, and you can get a $100 match on your first deposit. This is the Locked On Rockies podcast. We're free and streaming on your favorite streaming service, bringing you your daily Colorado Rockies talk right here on the Locked On Podcast Network. Free and streaming, of course, and on the Locked On Rockies YouTube channel. We are your daily Colorado Rockies podcast here on the Locked On Podcast Network. Find us on SiriusXM and the SiriusXM app as well. Shout outs to my everydayers and shout outs to you checking us out on the Locked On Rockies YouTube channel. So close to 500 subscribers. I'm going to try and do a little giveaway thing here once we hit that 500 subscriber mark. Hey, want to give you a heads up next week about the pod. There will be guest hosts filling in next week for me, as I'm going to be on a little bit of a vacation, and I just wasn't sure about the internet consistency when it comes to uploading podcasts. So we got some great guest hosts coming in. We'll confirm those and everything, and you're going to have a nice new take on Rockies baseball for a week, which I think will be really, really cool, especially as we gear up for the trade deadline. I'm going to have my stuff though, just in case, if anything does break, if anything does go crazy, I will make sure that I'm doing my best to cover it. I know it's prime time for some stuff, and the Rockies could be positioned to make some moves here. As we mentioned, they're coming out of segment number 1. CJ Cron, baby, that's the CJ Cron we know and love. That's the CJ Cron that raises your eyebrows. That's the CJ Cron that makes you, have to consider what his impact might be for a club. A hit in every single game of the series this weekend against the Yankees. A total of 4 hits in the series there. Getting 5 RBI on in that, scoring in every single one of the ball games as well. Big time. I mean, it's not only one thing for the value of the trade deadline, but this is who CJ Cron has to be for the Rockies. If CJ Cron is going to continue to be a member of the Rockies for the rest of the season, if he's going to continue to get playing time over the young guys, he has to do things like this. I mean, hitting a grand slam every game would be great, but it has to be home run. It has to be power. CJ Cron is really the only power guy, the only true power threat that you can sit on. He's the only guy that comes up for the Rockies that you're confident that will leave the yard, outside of maybe Elias Diaz, perhaps Ryan McMahon in there, Charlie Blackmon, I think, for someone he was playing as well. But the true power threat of this Rockies team is still CJ Cron. And for him to come out and do what he did and then have a big moment like that, the swing looks good. The back looks good. He looks good. But again, unfortunately, it just is he just clashes with where the Rockies are thinking about, or where the Rockies are evaluating for the future. So if he can put together a couple of solid weeks of play, he's going to be someone that certainly are going to be interested and interested in following. Again, if the trade deadline is August 1st, so expect a lot of stuff to probably be going down that Monday there, the 31st here, the last day of July. But if Cron is gets hot, how much time do the Rockies need to wait in between? I think they do need these next couple of weeks really to kind of beef up some trade value. I mean, the same goes for there was a report there that Randall Grichuk was getting some interest there from the Yankees as well. That he kind of makes sense, especially if the Yankees are looking for a low cost outfielder there. He in that series did have an impact against the Yankees there on the game on the 14th. He got the 2 ABs with 2 hits there. Unfortunately, I think we thought it was an injury, or actually, I thought Randall Grichuk was traded because he left the yard. He was having the 2 hits. He was having a solid game, and then he was replaced in like the 6th, and it was like, hello, that's very sudden, but sounded like potentially maybe something with the groin. So we'll have to watch that. Because I think they mentioned in the game, I don't know if it was yesterday's game. It might have, because they were talking about getting deeper in the game. It might have been Saturday's game, but they said Randall Grichuk was available, but he's not really available. You know, he's something. So something's off with the groin. Something is an issue there, but another player to keep your eyes out for there as well. But one other key takeaway here from this series was look at how important hitting home runs is. And looking how important hitting home runs of consequence, of value with runners on in key moments. I mean, that was great for the Rockies, but we've given the flowers. We've been nice, but let's not ignore the fact that the Colorado Rockies certainly had a lot of blown opportunities in that last series. The offense falling flat in game 2, of course, is a bummer. But we don't want to dwell too long on those, especially when, with the way that game started. Garrett Cole's on the bump, and the Rockies are still able to win that game 8-7. However, the extra innings were on the offensive side for the Rockies were atrocious. I saw DMAC talking about this there from Denver Sports there. And this was a tremendous point. Bunt. To get the Yankees to have 2 massive base running blunders, to be gifted the I mean, if you can prevent the runner, they mentioned, they didn't say the actual numbers on the broadcast, but the home team's chances of winnings skyrockets when the opposing team does not score with these new extra inning rules. How long do we call them new with the runner on second rules for this? So to have not 1 but 2 of those opportunities, including the best part of your lineup to come up, that's the disappointment there. The Rockies, it was great that they got the home runs. It was awesome how the 11th inning played out. But don't forget that the Rockies blew 2 opportunities to win that ball game, found themselves down multiple runs after trying to go, having to go to the bullpen yet again and extending a game that did not need to be extended. It was the Rockies. Yeah, I think Bud Black deserves some criticism there for how those extra innings panned out. I don't think to have Tovar swing first, then bunt, then pop, to have that sequence, and then to have it followed up. And I know he homered this weekend for the Rockies, but plain and simple. And this is going to be a bigger topic, I think, this week as we continue to dive into it. The Rockies need so much more from Chris Bryant. That is a tailor-made Chris Bryant situation. That's why he got his contract. That's why he's in Colorado. When will Chris Bryant have the walk-off big moment? When will Chris Bryant win the hearts of Rockies fans instead of continuing to be an afterthought? Most people still forget that Chris Bryant is a member of the Rockies, including Rockies fans, because of how long he's spent injured, because of the lack of actual pop and flair and impact on the roster. He is not the double-digit WAR player that he has been in the past. He is not performing anywhere near the level that the Rockies need him. He is supposed to be their big contributing vet guy. But instead, if he continues at this rate, if he continues to go so long in between home runs, especially between home runs at home, massive issues, especially with that contract. There's the Chris Bryant concern meter. And like I said, awesome that he homered this weekend. Great to see. But the concern is still there. And I need lots more from Chris Bryant. That guy he needs to do, the step forward he needs to take in terms of contribution for the Rockies, it can't be understated, because he's not going to be traded, and you're not going to not play Chris Bryant unless you're going to send a message. I mean, he's still getting singles. He's still getting on base. He's still fielding okay. I mean, again, I don't think he's not the best outfielder on the Rockies, and he's not the best outfielder in the league. Is he horrendous? No, but the Rockies had to put him in right field for a reason. My point is, Chris Bryant will be hard to trade. Pardon me. Got to refresh. This is what you get for being a fired up podcaster. Water break. There we go. Chris Bryant is not anywhere close to playing at an MVP level. And we don't need him to be an MVP of the whole league, but he's supposed to be an MVP of the Rockies. And that's not the case right now. And a player like Chris Bryant should not be forgettable on the Rockies, especially when someone like CJ Cron has been able to find his swing and find success, and other veterans there. Elias Diaz is an example. If the Rockies are going to have Chris Bryant around for a while, the conversation needs to start popping up of, what are you doing to contribute more? What adjustments are you making? What are you learning? And I'm sorry, just saying injuries and stuff isn't going to be enough for me, because I haven't seen enough when you're on the field as well. So anyway, from criticism to oh, pardon me. Oh, there we go. Cleared out. Anyway, from criticism to compliments, let's talk Austin Gomber coming up here in segment number 3. This is the Locked On Rockies podcast. We're free and streaming on your favorite streaming service, bringing you your daily Colorado Rockies talk right here on the Locked On Podcast Network, where you can find your team every day. If your team is the Colorado Rockies, you have found the right spot. That's what we do here each and every day. Thank you for making us your first listen of the day. Thank you for tuning into the Locked On Rockies YouTube channel, and check us out on SiriusXM and the SiriusXM app. Just search Locked On Rockies, or get all your play-by-play coverage by searching Colorado Rockies. Austin Gomber was good again, folks. And as we've gone down this path before, we know how it is to kind of go back and forth with Austin Gomber. But when the good stretches happen, when he contributes and when he's doing what he does, you got to give him props, especially now. Gets his record above 500 on the year. The ERA is still above 6. The whip is still high. But now, in the last 4 of 5 games that Austin Gomber has started for the Colorado Rockies, they have won the ball game. And most of the time, with the exception of the game against Detroit there, not a lot of damage being done against the Rockies as well. Gomber in 4 of his last 5 starts has only given up 2 earned runs. That 5th one was the loss against Cincinnati. That's the last loss of the loss for Austin Gomber when pitching for the Rockies there. And the last time he gave up 4 home runs, he gave up that was a 3-homer game there. Back-to-back games where he's given up a home run. That's been the big damage against Austin Gomber, because outside of that, 2 clean games of no walks there for Gomber. Not a lot of strikeouts, again, falling off from that 7 strikeout game against Detroit, but certainly getting the job done, certainly letting his offense behind him, or not his offense. Well, in the game there on Friday, yeah, the offense, and really that game in San Francisco as well. Plus Detroit, that game against Detroit, the Rockies have scored at least 5 runs in his last 3 starts. They only got 4 runs there in the win against the Angels there, but better performances there for the Rockies in terms of offense. 3 out of the 5 his last 5 starts have been at home for the Rockies. So we'll see. Again, for Gomber to continue this stretch, it's got to go do it out on the road, but handles the Angels and the Yankees at Coors Field, only giving up 2 earned in that time, and still getting a couple of strikeouts yesterday. The Rockies got to start the second half of the season off on the right step because of Austin Gomber, because of his abilities to get the ball, to get the weak contact, to get the outs in the right situation, and locating his pitches so he wasn't bit by the long ball. We know how much of an issue that is. Look at Chase Anderson on Saturday. If the Rockies starters can limit the home runs, really not give up any would be the most ideal. Rockies are going to find themselves in a much better spot and in much closer ball games. I mean, really great stuff. 3 straight quality starts for Austin Gomber. He is in July. He's got he's only given up 4 earned runs there in the matter of 12 innings pitched, 3 strikeouts in that time so far this month. The home runs, again, that's really the only glaring issue. Would love to see more strikeouts as well. But shout outs to Austin Gomber for going out there and holding things down desperately for this starting rotation. This is a team that needs him right now. And for his last appearances, he has been he's been good for the Rockies. He's been a key reason why the Rockies have been able to win 4 out of his last 5 starts. That's pretty good. But we'll see. Again, got to do that same on the road. We'll see how the offense translate. That's the big question there. But hey, if they did it in San Francisco for Gomber, let's hope they can do it again here for the next road trip. Rockies taking on the Astros here, an Astros team that handled business against the Rockies the last time they played, but a banged up Astros team coming into Coors Field here for another quick 2-game set. Seems kind of weird or kind of fun. I wonder how they feel about the quick 2-game sets about teams. But the Rockies then will be getting into an interesting part of their schedule, especially when you're looking at the Rockies, seeing if they might get a beef up from performance. The series against the Nationals at Athletics heading into the trade deadline. Then the Padres come into town right before the deadline to see. I mean, the Rockies could be entering a stretch against mostly struggling teams here after taking on the Astros and Marlins. But it is a road trip for the Rockies. The Rockies going to Miami is never a good time for them, really. So we'll see how this a big stretch, I would say. The most interesting stretch of Rockies baseball is coming up so far this year because of the implications of if the vets are playing well, what does that do to their trade value, and how likely are the Rockies to move some of these players? And really, they could put a fork in some of these teams, or at least make it much more difficult as they got matchups here with Miami and Houston, Miami, and San Diego coming up here. I'd say the Cardinals, the Athletics, and the Nationals all find themselves pretty close to Rockies territory this season, but who knows? Cardinals went on a tear last year, especially because the Rockies want to succeed now because Brewers, Dodgers, Diamondbacks after that. So, all right, there's a little schedule outlook. There's props for Austin Gomber. And I think that's going to do it. That's going to do it for today's episode of Locked On Rockies. Sorry there about having that coughing fit in the middle there. Sometimes you just get so choked up talking about the Colorado Rockies here. But thank you for making us your first listen of the day. Thank you for making us your number 1 Rockies podcast. Well, I hope so, at least. Thank you for being a part of the Locked On Rockies YouTube channel. Why don't you go check out Locked On MLB for more baseball coverage for your second listen? Or if you need more Colorado coverage, the Locked On Nuggets, Buffs, Broncos, and Avalanche, all on the Locked On podcast, available for you to check out and enjoy. We'll be back in action tomorrow. More Rockies talk right here on the Locked On Rockies podcast. Until then, I'll catch you on the flippity flip.